to catch the fugitive. The sheriff tightened the screws of the tank the fugitive was riding. The next second, the tank fell apart into a pile of parts. But when the fugitive saw the sheriff's body, he directly stuffed the sheriff into a bucket. But the sheriff had already put on a diving suit. He pulled out a water gun. The fugitive was immediately taken back to prison. But the fugitive didn't give up on escaping. Anything that got into his hands could become a tool for escape. But the sheriff was well prepared to prevent him from escaping again. He was locked in a cell by the prison guards, but this still couldn't stop him. The fugitive escaped through the skylight's ventilation opening. The sheriff had already anticipated this. He threw an iron ball along the ventilation pipe. The fugitive was instantly crushed. He returned to his cell. At this time, car sounds came from outside. The fugitive thought his chance had come. He broke the window and jumped out. As a result, he fell into a pile of dirty clothes. But unfortunately, that car wasn't there to pick him up from prison, but to transport dirty clothes for washing. With a scream, the fugitive was scalded by hot water. His whole body was thrown directly into the sky. Then the sheriff tied an iron ball to his foot. The fugitive was thrown outside with the iron ball. Through the reaction force, he was also carried out of the prison. But before he could celebrate, the sheriff used a magnet to suck him back in. This completely enraged the fugitive. He bit through the iron chain and threw it at the detective. This caused the sheriff's plane to crash. The sheriff lost his resistance, but the fugitive hadn't stopped yet. He threw the sheriff into a trash can. He flattened the trash can with a hammer, but when he moved the trash can, the sheriff had disappeared. Only a box of chocolates remained in place. The fugitive couldn't help but start eating, but after seeing the label on the packaging, he discovered it was a bomb. Fortunately, he survived the explosion. At this point, the fugitive was exhausted. When preparing to return to his cell, he suddenly bumped into a round log. Seeing this, he immediately thought of a brilliant idea. Then he was seen hugging the wood. He charged toward the iron gate, but unexpectedly, the sheriff actively opened the prison door for him. The fugitive was completely confused. It turned out the prison guard told him today was the day his sentence was completed. This man said he simply couldn't leave the prison. Escaping was just a fantasy. He wanted to ask the other party to lock him up again.